This is David Wheaton. The following is a TCW short take, a bite-sized highlight from the Christian Worldview radio program. You can hear the full program at thechristianworldview.org. Is it a biblical concept to actually focus your main priority and love on those in your family first, and then your church, and then your neighbors, and then work outward from there?
It is definitely, I think, a biblical concept, and he is right when he says it's a Christian concept. So the idea originally was formed, we'll get into scriptures that back this up, but to give a little bit of history from the sort of church history side, Augustine of Hippo was probably the first one to outline this idea. He said, in the first place, therefore, he must care for his own household, for the order of nature and human society itself gives him readier access to them and greater opportunity of caring for them. So he's very explicit there, Augustine, that you actually have to love and prioritize your own family and your own household first. Thomas Aquinas developed this further, saying the same thing. We ought to love one neighbor more than another. And similarly, even John Calvin talks about this, saying that if unbelievers, essentially, I'll not give the whole quote, but he says, if unbelievers are able to love their own family and their own people first and foremost, we would be monsters if we do not do the same. So this has been the broad teaching of the church. It has been the teaching of both the Catholic and the Protestant church that actually you do have a primary responsibility to people near you, and then that responsibility diminishes as people get further from you. There are a number of scriptures that I think very, very clearly express this. 1 Timothy 5:8 would be one of the most prominent ones, where Paul says, if anyone does not provide for his relatives, and especially for members of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. So there's that idea of you have to especially provide for your own household. In Galatians 6:10, we see that idea of the church maybe being the next ring outside of this, where Paul says, as we have opportunity, let us do good to everyone, especially those who are of the household of faith. And even this idea of prioritizing your own nation, this is something Paul does very explicitly. Actually, there's a lot of examples of this. Paul himself says, I wish that I myself were accursed and cut off from Christ for the sake of my brothers, my kinsmen according to the flesh, the Israelites. He then goes on to make that very clear that that's who he's talking about. He has a particular love and a particular affection for his own people. Even Jesus, what does Jesus say? He says, I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Even in his human nature, the finite limitations that his human nature, not saying that he was finite in his divine nature, but in his human nature, he was sent and prioritized his own people and his own nation first and foremost. So this is an extremely biblical and very common sense doctrine. Actually, there's very few people that are saying, no, you shouldn't do this. We're willing to give me any of their children's inheritance money, I found, to pay my mortgage, which, whilst I would like that, is right. They are correct in not wanting to do that. They should prioritize their own children over me. But yet when J.D. Vance says this and says, well, actually, that's also how we should function as a nation, that we have a priority for our own nation first and foremost, he's getting a lot of criticism, which I think is entirely unjust and inconsistent, both with their own actions, but also with the Bible.
This has been a short take from the Christian Worldview radio program. To hear the full program and connect with this nonprofit radio ministry, go to thechristianworldview.org. I'm David Wheaton.